Welcome to the RatRace to FI podcast, where we discuss money, mindset, real estate investing, and ways to achieve financial independence. Whether you are a rookie or a veteran needing new ideas for investing or creating side hustles, you're in the right place. Here to challenge you to think out of the box, your hosts, Felipe Mejia and Diego Corzo.
Diego, what's up, man? We have another RatRace to FI member today. Her name is Amanda. She did the shred my mortgage concept, which basically her first day at RatRace to FI. She listened to Adam Carroll.
Adam Carroll.
Shred my mortgage. And she took off like 30, 40, some $1,000 off her mortgage in the last 2 months.
57,000, man.
Mind blowing.
And she also shares how she's been able to, she shared how she was able to buy her first property and her job actually cover her mortgage. And then she AirBNB. So she sort of like maximized the house hack strategy to the max. And I'm very excited for everyone to hear her story. So we'll get started.
Yeah, absolutely. Really quick, guys, before we get started, make sure that you head over to ratracetofi.com. Our RatRace to FI course is finally out. It is still on sale, half off till the end of the year. So just make sure you head over to ratracetofi.com for the RatRace to FI course. Amanda, welcome to the RatRace to FI podcast. I'm actually really excited to have you. I love having RatRace members, and I love just getting people on the podcast that can share some value. A lot of people that listen put into action the things that they learn. So first and foremost, so people know who you are, Amanda, who are you? What do you do? Give us a little background on yourself.
Hi, yeah. My name's Amanda. I am 38. I'm married, been married for about 11 years, 2 small boys. Well, they're 6 and 8. I guess they're not small anymore. But 2 boys. I was born and raised in Idaho, and that's where I live now, just outside of Boise. I spent about 10 years living everywhere but Idaho. Came back about a decade ago, about 10 years ago. So I am in medical device sales as my 9 to 5, and I've been in sales for about 15 years, pretty much my entire career. So, yeah.
Medical device sales. What does that even mean? Help me out here.
Yeah. So there's several different types of medical sales, we'll say. And so it can be even selling the Band-Aids and the small consumable supplies. I sell capital equipment, meaning that there has to be a CapEx component that's in every line item at every hospital. And so they budget for the types of products that they're buying from me. Specifically, I sell respiratory equipment. So pretty much everyone knows about that over the last couple of years. So I sell emergency intubation equipment that has a disposable component. So there's the capital piece of it that they buy from me, and then there's a disposable component, which is kind of the gift that keeps on giving. That's a little bit more about what I do.
That sounds super complicated. I'm not going to lie. And I'm going to act like I know what any of that means. But it sounds like it pays well. So we'll go with that.
Yeah.
So did you go to school for this? Did you go to college to do this? Kind of give us the background of how you fell into this job.
Yeah. So I I got my bachelor's degree from UNLV in Las Vegas. And that was in 2006. And I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So I moved to England, and I lived just outside of London for a little while. And I got my master's degree while I was living there and traveling. And so I got to graduate with my master's degree in MBA in 2008, which everyone knows is when the financial markets took a giant tank. And so I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I kind of fell into sales, which is a common theme in my life because I also fell into real estate. So I sort of fell into sales, and it ended up working out for me and my lifestyle and just kind of how I like to operate my 9 to 5 is really like kind of running your own mini business. So that's kind of how it worked out for me. I started in sales because that's pretty much the only career that was hiring at that time, and I just kind of stuck with it.
That's awesome. So you got the job you wanted. So far, it sounds like you love what you do. Tell us a little bit more now how you fell into real estate, what kind of got you involved. Give us the spiel on that.
Yeah. So I really fell into real estate. I right after my first son was born, I was still doing sales, and in Idaho, you pretty much have to take on a large territory because everything is really spread out. So I had a large territory. I covered all of Idaho, or most of Idaho, and some of Montana. And so at that time I was still breastfeeding, believe it or not. And so I was just trying to figure out how to get my kid breastfed and be gone for a week at the same time. And so my mom, what's that?
I said, oh man.
Yeah, I know all the stuff you guys don't want to hear, but so anyway, I was gone for a week at a time. My mom would come with me. We would be cramped in this hotel room. And so one of the places that I was traveling a lot to had really pretty inexpensive housing. And so I thought, I'll just buy a house, get reimbursed from the company. I'll be there like once every 6 weeks, totally furnish it. And then you have my son and you can, go around the neighborhood and it'll be a nice place. It's a little 3-bedroom place. And so we'll just do it that way. And so then it was completely furnished. I'm like, well, this place stays empty except for once every 6 weeks. I should just put it on Airbnb and see what happens, if I can get a little bit of extra income from it and help pay some of the, things that I just spent to furnish it. That's great too. And I had no clue. It took off. This was 5 years ago. So, I started making quite a bit of money from Airbnb in this small town in eastern Idaho, which was right across the street from a college. But anyway, it took off. And so that kind of got the juices flowing for me. It was really out of a place of necessity for me, trying to figure out how I could still work and have my job and take care of my young son. And so, yeah, that was the first one about 5 years ago.
That's really cool. Quick question on with your work. Did they cover part of the mortgage while you were living there?
Yeah, so they actually just paid. I was able to negotiate with it was a different company at the time, but I was able to figure out the place I was normally staying in a hotel, what that nightly rate was, and then use that to reimburse myself. So the property I purchased was $83,000. Or I'm sorry, no, it was $87,000. And I think I started with an $83,000 mortgage. And so anyway, it ended up being $460 a month payment in my mortgage. And so it's maybe $600. So being there once every 6 weeks, I almost didn't have to pay anything out of pocket. But me and my sales mind, I thought maybe I could just make a little extra dough when I'm not here. And so it ended up working out really well. That was the one I just sold about a week ago. It was my very first property outside of primary residences.
That's cool because it sounds like if you were house hacking this property, but not with just Airbnb, right? But with the money that you were getting from your job. That's not something that a lot of people do. So I feel like this will definitely get the audience their juices flowing if this is something that their job also offers.
Yes, yeah. No, it's I was really lucky that it worked out for me, and like I said, it paid for the mortgage for several years, and then Airbnb on top of that just got my mind thinking about, okay, where else could I do this and make this worthwhile?
That's where an entrepreneur's mind goes though, right? When we get per diems or where we get stipends or where we get living expenses. We're like, how do we maximize this living expense, right? Like those are the mindset of entrepreneurs, where like your average person will be like, okay, I get a $50 per diem for dinner. Where can I go spend $48 and tip to? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like that's where our entrepreneurship, comes from. Like that mindset is always there. So Amanda, tell us what happened next, right? Like how did you keep the gas going?
Yeah. So after that property, and it was on Airbnb, I got a little freaked out because I didn't feel like I was very diversified. So I'm like, I just have this one property that's on Airbnb. It's doing well, and that's great. But if Airbnb ended tomorrow, I'm nervous for what that looks like. So I bought a duplex shortly after that. Not shortly, I guess it was like 2 years, but I took the proceeds from the Airbnb because like I'm clean and straight with the property itself. Basically my company was paying for that property. So I took all the proceeds from the Airbnb rentals and bought a duplex that needed quite a bit of work, but it was fully rented. Full disclosure, I had like zero business buying this place. It was like kind of run by, I don't know, you probably would call the guy a slumlord, but anyway, I spent about $50,000 on top of that, the down payment, renovating it and making it up to code and standards that I could be proud of. And then, so I had those two properties. Shortly after that, I think it was like a couple months after that is when I took the job that I'm at now, the company I'm at now, and which really escalated my income. So I was always in sales before, but I took a new sales position that increased my income quite a bit. So from there, we sold our primary residence, moved a little bit further out of town, bought a fixer-upper, lived in it. It had an ADU, like a 550 square foot mother-in-law suite, which is behind the house. And we rented that out on Airbnb while we were in the main house, living in it and fixing it up. So we put about $30,000 into the main property. And it's near where my husband's a baseball coach for college. So we fixed it up. It's right near where the college in the town that we live in is. And so we already knew that we were going to have 6 tenants. It's a 6-bedroom house. It's like an old house. So it had the basement that we had egress windows put in, a main floor, and then an attic that was converted. So 6 bedrooms, 6 leases from 6 baseball guys. Plus the Airbnb.
So like it's interesting, right? Because you didn't take the traditional route so far of real estate investing. Like a lot of people are like, buy a single family, rent it, BURR it, or a line of credit, buy the next one, right? Like it sounds like you did it a little unconventionally, but it's working for you. And this is what I love about this story is that there's no one right answer, right? In school, we're taught like there's one answer. It's either A, B, C, or D, and you got to show how you did that. And I was terrible at this. I could get the right answer, but I couldn't explain it because sometimes I cheated. But I could never explain how I got the answer, but I knew that I got it. And this was my problem when I started in real estate, Amanda, is I know this is going to sound so backwards. I started real estate investing with Airbnb when it like in the beginning, and I was making a lot of money. But I was reading a lot of books too, and they were telling me that traditional buy a property, rent it out, like that's how you're supposed to be investing.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. I literally took the house that I was making a lot of money on Airbnb, got it off of Airbnb, and went traditional renting, made less money. And I thought that's what you were supposed to do because I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
So I love that you're giving us an untraditional way of investing in real estate that definitely worked for you. So I'm super excited to hear that. And then you were a mom, like you were breastfeeding during this time. And
Yeah, I mean, yeah, plus a full-time job. My husband asks me regularly if my brain ever stops, and I'm like, I don't think so. I'm not
You're like,
sure.
no.
Not that I can remember. Yeah, I just kind of have that. I need to keep a project going. I need to
Yeah.
have something in the works. So anyway, yeah, so that the property that we lived in, we moved out of about a year ago, because we had already had the contract going for the build for our dream home. So while we were renovating that property, and like pretty much, I mean, we weren't going on vacation. We didn't have like fancy anything. Like everything that I made, everything was being reinvested back into the business. And so, I mean, I was even like nickel and diming like the grocery list, all that kind of stuff. So that's where this was all going in those to the business and to housing and getting this off the ground. So anyway, we signed the contract about when we moved the contract for the dream home, when we moved into the house that we were renovating while we were living in, and then renting out the mother-in-law suite on Airbnb. So the mother-in-law suite's been running for a while. The guys in the 6 guys that live in, reference it as the baseball house. So 6 baseball guys live there, and they each are on their own separate leases. So if one breaks their lease, it doesn't mess with anybody else, but then obviously there's a premium to that. So anyway, so then the pandemic hits, and you guys aren't from Idaho, and I don't know if you know much about what's going on in Idaho. I think it's probably pretty similar to Texas, but so many people have moved here. So many people. And I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. It's actually been really great for my business and for real estate, because Airbnb is just going crazy here, and housing prices have gone up quite a bit. And so that really increased the value of everything that I had here, like pretty significantly over the past year and a half. So anyway, we moved into the dream home about a year ago, just a little over a year ago. And me being the frugal person that I am, I was real stressed about the mortgage that we just took on. So it was like, well, we can pay for it. Of course we can pay for it. It wasn't about that. It was just about trying to find a way to continue to reinvest in the business and not feel like we just plateaued, and because we're in our dream home, like we don't have to do anything else and we can just coast. So that's kind of where I found RatRace to Fi. And I mean, I'd always been following Felipe, and I had listened to other podcasts that he had hosted. And so it'd been a long time coming to where it's like, this is the year I need to take action, because I am in, this comfy space. I'm selling respiratory equipment, like, ice to an Eskimo, kind of like that's like everyone needs it, right now. I'm in the hospital space, and I'm in my dream home, and this is really where you could get it complacent, and I'm not in that space yet. So yeah, that's kind of where I found RatRace and wanted to just feel more accountable to what I was doing and taking action.
I love that. And sorry to butt in, Diego. I think you were going to try to jump on, but before we get to how you found RatRace and what value it's given you, really quick, I want to touch on this. So I love that you said you don't want to get complacent, because I don't know if anybody here listening played video games, but that's when you die. Not literally, like, but in a video game, the moment you stop, you get shot, you lose, you get tackled, whatever, right? So you always got to keep momentum going. And like with what you're doing, you got the job, you got a little bit of real estate, you got the family, you have the picture perfect. It's easy for you to say, okay, I'm done. I'm good. I've made it. I can just coast. Like, I'm great. But anyone that's been investing for any amount of time knows that like that's what's gonna kill your business. And that happened a lot during COVID. A lot of people that were just coasting, COVID hit, and then bam, jobs lost, properties gone. People that were coasting on Airbnb got shut down. Like you can't ever assume that it's safe. You always have to play it as if tomorrow's meal is not promised, right? That's a saying that we have in Mexico. Like you have to work today like your meal is not, like you're not going to get that lunch is what I'm saying.
Mhm.
So you got to stay hungry. You got to keep growing. Anything in this world that stops growing starts dying. That's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome that you're not complacent. You don't want to be complacent. You told your husband that your brain doesn't start working. I think that's hilarious because I tell my wife that all the time. My wife is my rock. And she's like, babe, don't you get tired? I'm like, No, not really. I don't know.
I
Hunger is,
definitely get tired, but my brain just doesn't stop anyway. So
yeah, no, I hear you. So okay, so you found Rat Race. What is Rat Race to you, and how has it helped you? I mean, I just kind of want to get because Diego and I have been hosting Rat Race for a year and a half now, but we don't always get to hear the stories from everyone in Rat Race of how it's helped them change their life. So tell us how you found Rat Race, why you decided to join the group, and what you've learned, and what's the biggest action that you've taken since then.
yeah, so I started RatRace about 2 months ago, just a little over 2 months ago. So I'm still fairly new and still trying to learn. I'm excited to go to the conference in December. So yeah, yeah. So the very first, I mean, I've learned a ton for sure. There's been lots of note taking going on over here, but the very first um, call that we had with a guest speaker was Adam Carroll's. Um, it's called Shred
Shred
My
my Shred
Mortgage.
my
Yeah,
mortgage. Yeah.
yeah. And he has like mastery of something.
Wealth, mastery
Yeah,
of
thank
wealth.
you, Master. Thank you,
Yeah.
Master. Well, yeah, but he was talking this particular day. He was talking about Shred My Mortgage, which
That
is
wait, that was your first Rat Race call, Shred My Mortgage?
mhm,
Dude,
Oh my
and it's like
gosh,
mind
what a way
blowing.
to start.
Mind
yeah.
blowing.
Boom.
And my mind was blown. And I feel like I'm fairly good with numbers. That's never anything that has like been
Yeah.
complicated to me. And even, I mean, I was reeling for till like 2 in the morning, and I was just researching everything I could. And he has like 4 days where he'll send you in an introductory email, like 4 days where he'll send you a little like tidbit and like just let it drip drop out. I watched all 4 days within like a couple hours. I just couldn't,
Put
I
it down.
understood it, but I couldn't get my mind completely around it. And so timing worked out really well to be able to take action very quickly because I was already in the process of getting a HELOC, home equity line of credit. And so that was closing like within a couple of days. Like the timing just couldn't have been more perfect. So
Look at God.
yeah. And my HELOC was going to be for 125,000. So I thought, well, I will just pre-elect like 15,000 to this whole process and I see how it works. And I now have elected 35,000 to the process because I've seen how well it works, and the rest of it is for taking action within real estate.
What is Shred My Mortgage? For those that
Yeah,
are listening, can you give us a 30,000 foot view of what
yeah,
you understood?
yeah. So, well, what I understood at the beginning was hardly anything. What I understand to be true now is
Yes.
that essentially, Shred My Mortgage is a way that you can move money around to your advantage based on the way that um, loan products have set up their funding, the way they get paid.
Mhm.
So you're essentially moving money from a complex interest, compound interest on an amortized schedule. So if you've ever bought a car, you've ever bought a house, something, a bigger ticket item, that usually comes on an amortized schedule. And you're moving big chunks of money to a simple interest schedule. And like a HELOC is interest only. So just for rough numbers, I've been doing it for about 2 months, just a little over 2 months. I had to go back and look at the date, and I'm even shocked myself. But I've been able to pay 57,000 down on my mortgage. and doing the calculations, I think I wrote it down here. I've been able to save $85,000 in interest by moving further. It's essentially just how far can you move down the amortization schedule on your mortgage.
Now,
So,
I'm going to pause you really quick.
Yeah.
You're using the HELOC to pay off your mortgage, but then you're using your cash to pay off the HELOC. Now,
Right.
somebody, I just got an Airbnb booking, yay! But somebody right now could be
The best
thinking, oh, well,
thing.
you still owe the money, right? You're not really shredding your mortgage. But what you're explaining is you're using the HELOC money to pay off the mortgage. And let's say that you're taking off 5 years of mortgage payments. Now you still owe that money, but you're not paying the interest on 5 years worth of mortgage. Now you're just paying down the HELOC.
Yeah. So not to mention though, I am paying more toward my mortgage now because I've seen how well this can
Yes.
work and how
I
quickly
agree.
it can work. So you don't have to. That's not a requirement of finding success with this process. But because I'm allocating quite a bit more of my income through this process, we're going to be able to pay off our mortgage. We're at 3.66 years now. When we started, it was 3.75 years. So we're at 3.66 and we'll save overall $300,000 in interest.
Now, I agree with this. For everyone listening, guys, I agree with this because she's not paying down rental property yet, but this is to each his own. But mortgage where you live is not an asset, in my opinion, before I get shot at here. In my opinion, your mortgage is not an asset. It is taking money out of your pocket when, I mean, this is 101 Robert Kiyosaki, right? Rental properties pay you cash flow, they're assets. I wouldn't not pay those down by myself. Like I would let my tenants do that. But where I live, where my head sleeps is not an asset. And I do agree with paying that down quickly because it's not giving you monthly cash flow, right?
Okay.
So I completely agree with you, Amanda.
And this is kind of a hot take. I mean, you see left and right where people say, don't pay off your mortgage early. This is, it's the cheapest money you'll ever get. And I just happen to disagree because I see that I was paying $1,800 a month in interest alone.
Yeah.
So $1,800 a month in interest that could be going toward
in your pocket. That's cash flow that you're giving up.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I probably have a unique situation. We got a pretty sizable mortgage. Like I said, it was a dream home. We have quite a bit of equity in it now. But yeah, it's just something that I am seeing the light at the end of the tunnel much quicker. And we don't take any money out of the business or any of our rental properties at this time. So my plans are probably to actually move some of this to the rental side of our business and do the shred my mortgage, because right now I have a lot of sometimes just cash sitting in on the rental side of the business. We have completely separate banking information for the business, and it sits over there in cash as reserves. Well, if I can put it through to a HELOC and use part of my HELOC as cash reserves and run it through to shred the mortgage on that side, I'm just going to be able to buy more properties that much quicker.
It's funny, Amanda. I've been preaching HELOCs for about a year to RatRace. And Diego's going to laugh at this because everyone's like, yeah, Felipe is again with his HELOC rant. And I'm like, no, guys, like, I'm not good at explaining this, but just get you a HELOC on your equity. And then Adam Carroll comes in his little nice tie and, are looking all fancy. And he's all like, so this is how you use the HELOC. And everyone goes and gets a HELOC. Yeah. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, whatever. Like, I've been preaching this for the last year.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 or 5 or 20 times for somebody to hear something before it starts clicking. We all know that in sales, right? So, so I mean, it is something that I'm evaluating for the business, primarily because we don't take any money. We don't use any money from the business to operate our lives. It's not cash flow straight back into the business. So all of our personal spending comes from our W-2s. But the goal for me is to make work optional by the time I'm 50. I'm 38.
I love
I have 12 years to go. And it doesn't mean I'll never work. Again, my husband says my brain doesn't shut off, so that's probably not a thing. But if I can leave my W-2 in 12 years or less, that's the goal, is to.
If it takes you 12 years, I don't think RatRace did its job. Give us 2. Give us 2 years.
Well,
Yeah.
I still love getting all those tax advantaged accounts. So like the mega backdoor Roths and the 401ks that are matched and so there's that side of things for me too. And I really do still like what I do for work on a day-to-day basis. I just really love, I love real estate too. So I'm trying to juggle it both.
Yeah, I like that you're very well diversified too. From the real estate, you have a high paying job as well, and you're taking care of all the tax deductions too that come from the retirement accounts. Now, what's going to happen once you pay off your house? What's next?
Yeah,
like how are you going to allocate your funds?
Yeah. So as you go through this process of shred my mortgage, and again, I'm only 2 months in, but I've seen a good chunk of success already from it. So the idea behind it is that you can continue asking for more HELOC, because you just had your home appraised and the home appraisal was set at a certain amount. That's only going to fluctuate a certain amount up or down. So you can use that to ask for more HELOC when you're doing bigger pay downs. So in a year from now, when I'm, $100,000 or $100,000+ down, I can ask for a bigger HELOC and then continue buying more properties. So right now, that's where, the 2 properties that we're purchasing, one tomorrow and then another one a week from now, those were all in 1031 exchanges from that first property that I told you about at the beginning. So we'll use that for the down payment, but I'll be furnishing, doing some renovations. Those will be between those 2 properties. Those will be 4 doors. So a lot of furnishing going on to put some of those on AirBNB. And I'm going to be using the HELOC for that and the renovations as well.
That's cool.
So Amanda, do you know about the refinancing strategy that a lot of people do, the BURR strategy?
I have heard of the BURR strategy. I haven't done one before.
So it sounds like I think earlier you said you're a numbers gal. Did you ever go line of credit versus BURR? Did you decide which route you wanted to take based on numbers, or were you just like, oh, I like HELOC because I've heard more about this strategy?
No, I've heard about the BURR. The BURR strategy, I don't know if it's for me specifically. Seems like a lot of people have gotten quite a bit of success from BURR. It's just that I'm not buying properties that have that much distress in it. Mm-hmm. Again, I have a W-2 job, so I'm not the one that's out there doing some of the awesome work it is to find these off-market properties and really grind it out, because I have other competing priorities like a family and a W-2. And so I'm finding ones that need a little bit of work, but not, $20,000, $30,000 worth of work, but not complete makeovers to where they're able to see all of this realized value from doing these renovations. Good for you. That's great. And maybe that's something that I'll do down the road. But for now, it's not something that I think that I'm have the bandwidth for.
Got it. So what's goals next year? What do you see happening? How do you see yourself investing? What else is RatRace going to do for you? Give us next year goals.
Yeah. So in addition to getting the properties I'm purchasing in the next couple of weeks up and running by the end of this year, I also have a cabin in the works. It's here in Idaho, just about 45 minutes away.
Cool.
And that I always kind of felt like this was going to be like, I made it, quote unquote. Like if I have a cabin that I can use when I want to, and then like I give everything a job. So of course it's going to be on Airbnb. People ask me like, oh, is it going to be on Airbnb? Are you
Of course it is.
I'm like, oh no, it all has a job.
That's funny.
So that is, the cabin will be done or starting in the spring of 2022. And then it should be done by summer. So beyond that, I'm just trying to stay on top of things, not get complacent. I'm trying to learn more about some of these other strategies with finding our off-market deals, wholesaling, learning from other people that are doing STRs, and just trying to stay accountable with the stuff I have right in front of me, keeping that firing in all cylinders, while also keeping my mind open to new things. I mean, I would have never known about Chardonnay Mortgage had it been for your guys's program through RatRace to Fi and being a part of this community. So yeah, that's a big goal of mine. And then just also learning from other people, like learning other people in the group. I've not met too many people yet. So like I said, that's why I'm excited to go in December and kind of get myself lined up, my goals lined up with where I think I need to be. I'm not very good at doing goal setting. So I guess that's one thing I'm looking forward to in December.
I'm gonna take this moment to blame the 12-year goal versus 2 or 3 year goal on that. You have to be able to set goals. Diego has drilled this into RatRace, into my mind. If you give yourself 12 years, Amanda, it's going to take 12 years. If you give yourself 3, it's going to take 3. I'll let Diego expand on that a little more.
Well, yeah, because it's really important to know at the end of the day that what you said, that in 12 years you want to have the choice to work, right?
Yeah.
But I feel that if you do set that goal of I'm going to do it in 3 or I'm going to do it in 5,
right,
you will see that the resourcefulness part is going to take place just in conversations, because you're a little bit more hungry. And when you're a little bit more hungry, opportunity magically shows up. Yeah. And it's not because it's magic, right? But it's because you're taking the action. Right. And I really feel like what you were saying about the complacency. Yeah. I feel like by you surrounding yourself with like-minded people, with people that are like, we're going to have a kick-ass year in 2022, like, let's go. I feel like that's definitely going to be able to escalate all of the progress that you can do and get to the shrink from 12 years to like 5, to having that choice to work. Not saying that you're going to quit in 5 years, but having that choice, I feel like you can do it faster.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. Yeah, goal setting is something, like I set goals October of last year for 2021. And then by February, I had hit every goal. So I'm like, oof. Yeah, that wasn't a big enough dream.
Yeah. And I feel like with the right group, right, you get to challenge each other.
Absolutely.
And you get to be like, hey, you can probably 10x this, or maybe 5x it, right?
Yeah, you're right about that for sure.
That's awesome.
It's interesting because like action and taking action and taking the next step forward, I'm huge on. I'm not so big on like mindset, but I'm learning that like mindset and goal setting have to go hand in hand with action, right? Because you don't want to go 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction because you didn't set the right goal. A lot of people will be like, yeah, man, I did 100 miles today, right? Or whatever. But it's like, but did that actually get you 100 miles closer to your goal, or did you just run 100 miles? You know what I'm saying? Like you have to make sure that you have that vision of where you're going. So
yeah,
super exciting about that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that more dialed in and having a better understanding of, what is it that I really want and what does that look like for me? Because you're right, I'm not your typical investor, and I don't have, like, we're all different, right? But I didn't come around it from like a normal space, and I don't think I'm on the same journey as a lot of other people. So trying to find what that looks like for me and how to, like, I'm not interested in 100 properties. I've never been interested in 100. I want to have like 5, 7 paid off properties paid off that I can just not have to worry about and can just go live my life and go watch my kids play sports and travel around if they're playing in college. I guess that's where that 50 years old number came from. It's like my kids will be in college by that time, and so I want to see them go do their thing.
So the real goal is be rich when the kids are gone so that you can enjoy. I totally get that.
Oh, I'm pretty rich now.
I'm just kidding. That's hilarious. So, man, there's just so much information here. I want everyone to go back and listen to this episode because, like, mom, wife, you never let any of this be an excuse as to why you can't invest, why you can't join a mastermind that's going to keep you accountable, why you can't like take action on HELOCs and put strategies that you're learning in RatRace into play. I think this is awesome. And I applaud you. I'm a huge advocate of like women getting into investing because it's such a male dominated like platform. And I was raised by a single mom and I saw my mom invest. My mom bought 1 house and 1 mobile home, and that's like all of her investing. And right now she has 3 mobile homes and 1 house. Like that's all she's been able to do. Because my mom's like a first generation immigrant to this country and like just wasn't able to invest because she had 3 kids and a husband and then divorce and like life really got in the way. Now, obviously I was able to do a lot more, thank God and her. But I'm like, no, I think that women don't need to take a back seat. I think women need to take a front row seat, freaking get in there and just crush it. And I love seeing you killing it and especially because you're in RatRace. So I love that we can support you in that. And if there's anything else we can do, definitely let us know to keep you accountable and keep you pushing. Amanda, thank you so much for coming on RatRace and kind of giving your knowledge. I know that at the beginning you said you were a little nervous, but I promise you that for everyone, not just women, but everyone listening, they're going to get some value from it. And hopefully you change just one person's life. And that's enough to where they can maybe reach out to you and say, whoa, what is shred my mortgage? Like, how do I do that? I have a line of credit. I didn't know I could do this, that, the other. So that being said, where can people reach out to you, Amanda, who want to kind of follow in your footsteps?
Yeah. So I'm not overly active on Instagram, but that's one of my action items going forward. So I created a new Instagram that's dedicated to my journey.
Awesome.
And it's she's_Henry_on_fire. So she's Henry on fire.
I love it.
Henry meaning high earner, not rich yet.
Oh, that's cool.
So I like it. She's Henry on fire with underscores in between each one. I haven't posted yet. So hopefully by the time this podcast airs, I'll have something posted.
You'll have to post something. I love that. Okay.
I need to get my RatRace circle on that one too. So
there we go. We'll do it.
We'll give you some followers and you will see that as long as you're sharing your story, all of your stories, right, on Instagram, your posts and everything, you will inspire other people to continue follow on that journey if they're hungry enough to do it. So definitely
you guys inspire me. I guess I should have also said that too, just your stories and Diego being a dreamer and Felipe, your story and hearing about it. That's also why it led me to RatRace is like, hey, if these guys can do it and they've seen all of this, roadblocks put up, like, what's my excuse?
I love that.
Awesome.
And that's exactly what we're out to do. We're out to inspire other people to know that it's not fair. This road of investing is not fair for everyone. And it's obvious, right? Some people can get ahead a lot quicker and some people can't, but I'm out to tell people that it's not an excuse. Your gender, your nationality, where you were born, like you at some point you cannot use that as an excuse. And Diego knows this. One of my favorite quotes from Diego is, if there's not a door for you, climb through the window, right? And that's just a can-do attitude. And I feel like that's what you have. So I think that's awesome. I'm so glad you came on the RatRace to Fight podcast to encourage other people to do what you're doing. And a mom crushing it. So kudos to you. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Amanda. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
The RatRace to 5 podcast. where we discuss money, mindset, real estate investing, and ways to achieve financial independence. Whether you are a rookie or a veteran needing new ideas for investing or creating side hustles, you're in the right place.